morning, everyone, and welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living Victoria Online. It's a pleasure to have you here with us today on Zoom, or if you happen to be watching a recording later in the week, we're very happy to have you come and visit with us. And we hope that it isn't going to be too long before we're back together again, but certainly it isn't going to be until after Dr. Henry's protocols that are released on the 19th of February, I believe. So we'll be making an announcement at that time. Meanwhile, it's great that we have this technology that brings us together. And I am so happy to invite Reverend Joanna to do our opening treatment today.
Thank you, Reverend Carrie. And so, as we begin a week where we have sensed spring is in the air, we know that God, Spirit, divine consciousness is everywhere present all the time. And knowing this to be true, I know that I too am an expression of that infinite consciousness, as is everyone here, as is all life, as is every animate and inanimate object in the universe. We are all expressing the divine oneness. And knowing this to be true, I know that we each have within us that wonderful gift of love, that wonderful gift of health, of abundance, of compassion, of peace. For as we pray to change the world, we truly pray to change ourselves to be that perfect expression of the divine that we are designed to be. I give thanks for the knowledge that truth, God, Spirit is the essence of all being. I give thanks for this community. I give thanks for this day, a day when it is always possible to begin afresh. I give thanks for the love in this community. And I give thanks for the power of prayer. I release my word to Spirit, to the law, knowing it is so, and so it is.
Thank you, Joanna. And I now invite Darlene to share with us some more of her beautiful music.
Thank you, Carrie. A song by Karen Drucker and Michael Gott. We are all angels. We are all angels who only have one wing. All angels searching for each other. All angels who cannot reach the sky. 'Cause we need each other to fly. Do you know that there are angels in our midst? Can you hear them? Can you feel them? They're all around you, with you every day. Do you see them, or do you look the other way? It's that loved one I forgot to kiss as I hurried out the door, or that stranger that said hello that I ignored. They are angels. We are searching for each other. All angels who cannot reach the sky, 'cause we need each other to fly. My life gets so busy, time goes by so fast. I rush through my day trying to make each moment last. But when I take the time to look around, I see sweet angels are smiling back at me everywhere at any time I need to open up my eyes and see the beauty that surrounds me. And now I realize we are angels. We are angels. We are all angels who only have one wing. All angels searching for each other. All angels who cannot reach the sky, 'cause we need each other to fly. We need each other to fly. We need each other to fly.
Oh, thank you, Darlene. That's such a beautiful song. And again, I haven't heard that one for a long time. And I was just smiling as she was singing because I was remembering when Karen Drucker was at our Circle of Love. And she said that when she wrote that song and recorded it, that people started sending her their angels where a wing had broken off. I have a couple of them in a box, and I thought next time I see Karen Drucker, I'm going to take them to her. It must be quite a collection by now. It's lovely to have the memory as we listen to that beautiful song in your lovely voice. So thank you. So today I'm embarking upon the fourth week of going back to basics, which Centers for Spiritual Living do throughout the world in the month of January. And I kind of touch on everything briefly because we have such a conscious group of people. I know that most of you have been in classes, lots of classes, and that you already know these things. But even though we know them, even though we've studied them before, I mean, I'm fond of saying, I get it, I lose it, I get it, I lose it. You know, if we're not tuned in all the time, if we're not totally in alignment with the divine, then it's really easy to kind of lose our way. And so the first week, of course, is the thing itself, and the second one is how it works, and the third one is what it does, and the fourth one is how to use it. So today, instead of using the title "How to Use It," I've used the title "What the Mystics Taught," because I really think that when we study this teaching, when we really come into alignment with it, we are on the path to becoming mystics. And I really believe also that what Ernest Holmes has written, when we really absorb it, when we read it, when we study, when we understand it, then we are well on the way. And so first of all, I think I've been saying chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, which isn't the case at all. I was reading the text this morning, and it's the first 60 pages of the Science of Mind textbook. So it's not the first 4 chapters, but it is broken into 4 different parts. And I really think that it's a handbook for living. You know, if we can master those 60 pages, then our lives are just going to work, and they're going to work really well. The question is, you know, are we prepared to do it? Will we get there? Will we be faithful to it? Will we commit to it? And it doesn't mean that we need to be living on a mountaintop or in a monastery or a convent or something like that. I mean, I used to think long, long ago that mystics were people like Jesus and Buddha and Saint Francis of Assisi and Teresa de Avila, and people like that, people who just we've all heard of, and then more contemporary ones like Ernest Holmes, like Charles Fillmore and Myrtle Fillmore, um, Emma Curtis Hopkins, not quite so contemporary. She was a teacher of some of those, but Wayne Dyer, Marianne Williamson, Eckhart Tolle, some of those amazing authors that we have in our midst or have had in our midst. Wayne Dyer now has passed, but who've written so many books and have written them in a simple language that is easy for us to understand. And I think that because they made it easy, I tended not to think of them so much as mystics. But as I was reviewing my thoughts this week, I thought, no, they are. And the thing is, there are probably all kinds of people who are mystics that we don't even know about. They haven't written books. They're not public speakers. They simply do their spiritual practice every day, and it gets them closer and closer to God. So we don't have to be dead, and we don't have to be monks on mountaintops for this to happen. Each one of us is already on that journey, or we wouldn't be here right now. So in looking at the basics and the thing itself, of course, is God. And God is everywhere, in everyone, in everything. There's not a place where God is not. And so that's the first concept that we really have to align ourselves with. And if that is true, and I believe it to be true, and I don't think we'd be here if we didn't believe it to be true, we would know that each one of us is part of the divine. Each one of us is a spark of God stuff, as I like to call it. Each one of us is spirit having a human expression. Now we hear that over and over again, and I don't like to say it so often that it just becomes rote and doesn't have any meaning to it. We are spirit having a human experience. And whatever spirit looks like to us, that's who we are, because we're expressing that way. And so the question is, how are we expressing? And so when we go into how this works, the thing is that it works through us. Spirit works through us. Spirit is in us, as us, working through us. And what we need to remember, of course, is that, we can manifest all kinds of wonderful things in our lives when we're connected to Spirit. And in many ways, that's a conscious thing. We have to raise our own consciousness, but we have to be in a place of consciousness where we absolutely know that whatever it is that we are focusing upon is going to be manifest. And that's really, in the beginning stages of science of mind, in the beginning stages of this teaching, we learn to monitor our thoughts. We learn to stay positive. We learn to examine our belief systems from long, long ago, and our belief systems from yesterday and 10 minutes ago, and to see if they are in alignment with Spirit. As Ernest Holmes used to start every radio broadcast with, there's a power for good in the universe, and you can use it. And so we can use this power. We can use this power to enhance our lives, to live more productive lives, to have things that we dream about coming true. And as we get deeper and deeper into this teaching, and deeper and closer into alignment with the divine, with this presence within, we don't even have to ask for it. It just manifests because this infinite spirit of which we are a part knows exactly what it is that we want, and that starts to manifest for us. And we start saying, isn't it wonderful? I wasn't even doing affirmations about that. I wasn't even consciously praying about it. It's just happened, and it's exactly what I want. And so that's the benefit of paying attention to this, the benefit of using it. And of course, last week, my talk was reveling in love, and it was what it does. and basically Ernest Holmes is saying what it does is it loves us. Now we're talking about a totally different kind of love from how we typically think of love, that romantic kind of love, or love for our children, love for our friends, a love that is so powerful and so intense that there aren't even words to describe it. And sometimes when we're richly blessed, when we're in the midst of prayer or meditation, we feel that and we really understand that. And so today, in how to use it rather than how to use it, um, I'm using the title, What the Mystics Have Taught, because truly, when we get to that place where we are using it, we're consciously using it, and when we are in alignment with the divine, then we are following what the mystics have taught. And we don't have to be dead to do it, or on a mountaintop, as I said earlier, which is really a good thing. And the way that Ernest Holmes certainly describes it in the textbook, and the way that we know that the way that we know how to use it is through prayer. Now, one of the interesting things when Ernest Holmes is talking about prayer, he said, do you call it prayer or do you call it spiritual mind treatment? In our teaching, when we're in class, we are trained to use the term spiritual mind treatment, which is 5-step prayer that Ernest Holmes gave to us, a great gift to us. And it was interesting as I reread this the other day, when he said, which term do we use? And he said, if you use prayer because you think that God is somewhere outside you, somewhere up there, someone who is a being who is separate from you, then you're doing the wrong thing. It's not the way to pray. You use spiritual mind treatment. He said, if on the other hand, you're using spiritual mind treatment in order to pray, then you can call it prayer, and it's fine. And I switch back and forth. I typically tend to use prayer more often because people seem to understand that better than spiritual mind treatment. On the other hand, if there are people who are newcomers, then spiritual mind treatment is really important because there are the 5 steps. The first step being recognition, recognition that God is all there is. And the second, unification, that I am one with God. Each one of us is one with God because God is in each one of us, working through each one of us. And the third step is realization. And it is typically an affirmation, a statement about something that we want in our lives. I affirm that I am perfect health in expression, as an example. And the 4th step is gratitude. Thank you. We say thank you for things that we receive. And when we are affirming in the positive, when we're affirming in the present moment that something is already done, then of course we're saying thank you for it because we're seeing it already done. And it is done. It's done in mind. It's done in our hearts. It's not something that we're waiting for or wanting, because when we get into waiting for or wanting, then we're creating more waiting for and more wanting. And then the last step, of course, is release, when we say, and so it is. So that was his great gift to us. And the thing is that this teaching has taught us not only how to align ourselves with God through prayer, through meditation, through this teaching, through understanding this enormous power and how it works, but it has taught us how to be more compassionate beings, more loving beings, how to change things in our lives, how to change things in our world, which is so important. Remember again the 2,700 people in Washington, D.C., who meditated one summer, every day, meditated together to bring down the crime rate, and it was reduced by 75%. That is using the power, that is manifesting exactly what it is that they were praying for. And so we must not discount this. We must not think, oh, well, that's for some people, not for others, or let somebody else do it for me. It's not the way it is. we are on this path together, becoming mystics, because we understand how this works, and because we know the importance of it. We know the great value of it, and we know that it can work for better or for worse, depending upon our thoughts. As I keep on saying, what we focus upon expands. Our deep-seated belief systems are what we are manifesting in our lives right now. Now, that doesn't mean that something that happened yesterday or 10 minutes ago is manifesting right now. It could in the future, depending upon how we feel about it. The thing is that we have been programmed since birth. We have belief systems about ourselves. If we grew up feeling that we were unlovable, then chances are pretty good that we're going to be looking for love everywhere, and we're not going to be able to find it because we have a belief system that we're not lovable. On the other hand, if we grew up feeling that we are completely blessed, that we're all angels, we only have one wing and we need others to fly, then that's what we're going to express in our lives. We're going to gather together a community of people of like mind, people who believe what we believe, people who demonstrate what we demonstrate, and there's going to be a lot more love and a lot more compassion in this world than there presently is, and there is healing that will go on. And right now, what an important thing to consider, about healing, not only healing this pandemic, getting rid of it, giving it the boot now and for always, but healing this beautiful planet on which we live. I'm praying in our prayers every day. God, I know that you are the power, you are the magnificent power of all things, over all things, and that it is your power that is healing this planet now. And the same thing for world peace, for the things that we want the most that seem so far away and so distant. They only remain like that if we neglect connecting with the divine and connecting with those loving feelings in our hearts, those loving desires in our hearts. And that's when things start to shift. I don't know how many of you follow Lynn Mctaggart, but she's part of the Institute for Noetic Sciences, which was founded by Edgar Mitchell, the astronaut, who in space suddenly saw everything in molecular form and realized that we're all just made out of stardust. In other words, we're all made out of the same stuff: the sun, the moon, the stars, all of space, all of humanity, the spacecraft, everything else. Founded this institute to prove exactly what it is that he had seen, so that others could be part of it. And Lynn Mctaggart has written a number of books now about this, and I highly recommend them. The first one is called The Field. But she also, Edgar Mitchell passed a couple of years ago, but she is still with the Institute. And every once in a while I get an email saying that, well, just as a matter of fact, I think it was the other day I got an email saying that someone had been cured of stage 4 lung cancer. All treatment had been removed, and someone reached out on her behalf to Lynn Mctaggart's group. And what Lynn does is she sends out a picture of the person and the person's name, and she asks everyone on her list to pray for that person at a specific time. And inevitably, whenever she sends something like this out, there has been a magnificent healing that has taken place. It shows that the collective mind, the mind of God, works miracles every day. And we need to get into a place where we absolutely believe that, where we own it, where we know that it works. And there are different ways of working with these things. Some of them can be done in a most joyful way. Well, joy is always a good thing, and gratitude is always a good thing. And I was remembering yesterday a member of our congregation who said that she was driving an old beater of a car, and she wanted a new station wagon. And she wanted one that was in really good condition and one that she could afford. And she kept saying every day, "Thank you for my beautiful new station wagon. Thank you for it being in perfect condition. Thank you for it being affordable within my budget." And sure enough, she got it. And she was more recently talking about having a fantasy about having a Tesla. And she said when she got into her station wagon, she would run her hands over the dash and say, thank you for my new Tesla. And she would be feeling what it would be feeling like. And that feeling nature is really, really important as well. And she said a couple of weeks later, she had a ride in a Tesla. She didn't manifest one. However, she did manifest a wonderful new electric car. So understanding how this works, being in gratitude, seeing it, acting as if it's real. Now that doesn't mean, if you want to be incredibly financially prosperous in your life, it doesn't mean that you act as if that's real and go out and spend all of the money that you have or go into debt. It doesn't mean that at all. But it means to act as if, in the sense of feeling what it is like. What are the things that you would do? Who would you give your money to? Who would you, what, you might buy a new home. You might travel, and how would those things make you feel? So again, it's being in that feeling nature that is so, so important. And it's something that takes some practice. And I want to read something that Wayne Dyer wrote. When we listen and allow to, Spirit guides us to something greater than our physical selves. When we listen and allow to, Spirit guides us to something greater than our physical lives. When we fully embrace Spirit and align with it, we are not only content, but we experience joy. When I let myself align with Spirit, I am able to receive the vibrational energies of my source. Call them voices, messages, silent reminders, invisible suggestions. They are vibrations of energy, and when this happens, I have to get myself out of the way and remove resistance to the free flow of this spiritual energy. God doesn't dwell on things and say it's not possible. It doesn't focus on things not working out, on expecting the words, or of being stuck in one place. When we're in Spirit, we want our present moment and thoughts to align perfectly with what we desire. We will be in Spirit or inspired. Inspired is the actual meaning of the words in Spirit. It's time to go on a rampage of abundance and say, I am filled with an energy of abundance. I feel it in me and all around me. I am a winner. Everything I think, say, or do leads to success, affluence, peace of mind, happiness, sharing my good. I am a child of the divine and an unstoppable force for an abundant, prosperous life. I mean, if we could say those words, those kinds of words every morning, when we wake up, it is just setting an intention for the day, and it is bringing joy and fulfillment to our hearts. And if we feel ourselves slipping, then going back into that positive place, it is so important. And when we're doing that, if we're not already mystics, we're well on the way to becoming mystics. It's really, really important for us to understand that that we're filled with this energy that is called abundance. It has many names, but it is called abundance. And when we focus upon the presence daily, absolutely focus upon it and feel it, it's kind of like going to the gym where we're having a physical workout. Instead, we're having our spiritual workout for the day. We don't build physical muscle by sitting in a chair watching television all day or all evening. We need to do something to work out. We need to take some sort of action. And it is the same thing with prayer, that we need to take action. We need to practice in order to enhance our spiritual selves, in order to be in connection with the presence, to be able to feel that divine presence within us. We need to go to the spiritual gym every day. We have to get out of our heads and get into our hearts. And I know that some of you have heard the story before about God's angels, Lucinda, or Gloria, Lucinda, and Michael. Gloria being his his most outstanding angel, his most intelligent angel, his most glorious angel. And God is trying to figure out where he can hide the secret to life, where he can hide spirit. And Gloria says, I know, God. You know, we could hide spirit in the heavens, among the stars, in that beautiful cosmos, because it is so beautiful and so wonderful that it belongs in a place that is that magnificent. And God says, but the day will come where humanity will find a way to fly to the stars, and they will find it there. And so then Lucinda, who is God's second brightest angel, says, well, maybe we could hide it at the bottom of the ocean. You know, nobody's going to the bottom of the ocean. Nobody can get there. And so we could hide it there. And God says, well, that's another good idea. But the thing is, Lucinda, that the day will also come when humanity will be able to get to the bottom of the ocean. They will find a way, because with God's help and with the science that is going to develop, everything will be possible. And so Michael, who's maybe God's least bright angel, says, well, you know, God, maybe we could just put it in the human heart. And God says, aha, that, Michael, is brilliant. That's a place that they will never find it. Well, of course, we'll never find it if we don't go there, if we stay in our heads. And the thing is that our hearts, it has been proven now that our hearts have greater intelligence than our brains and have greater memories than our brains. When you start reading books on quantum physics and some of the authors who are now writing about spirituality and science and combining them, you know, there have been many, many studies done. And just imagine that greater intelligence in your heart than in your brain, in your mind. And when we think about that, you know, just think about your intuition. Your intuition doesn't come from up here. Your intuition comes from your heart. And that's where we always get the truth. When we but listen to it, when we stop, when we get out of our heads and get into our hearts and go into the silence and listen, that's when we get the answers that we need. That's where we find our truth. And Ernest Holmes says that the truth lives in each and every one of us. And so there it is. And to access it using prayers, using spiritual mind treatment, using meditation, the surefire way of getting there, a way of making such a difference, a way of becoming a mystic. And the thing about mysticism is that mystics are vibrating to a higher frequency, for want of a better expression. A higher frequency. It's kind of like, you know, we have radios that have FM and AM, and FM is the highest frequency. And so we're being called to live according to that higher frequency, you know, to vibrate with that. And as we move closer and closer to feeling that presence with us all the time, and I don't mean that we go around every moment saying, oh, I feel the presence, I feel the presence, I feel the presence. I don't mean that. I mean having that feeling of well-being inside us. And when we tune in, we can feel the presence. And it may be different for everyone. I mean, for me, it's a warmth in the middle of my chest. And it can be different for everyone. You will know it when you're there because it will give you joy, and it will give you a sense that all is right with the world. It will give you the feeling of living in grace. And I would love to say that I'm there every moment of the day. And as I said earlier, I get it, I lose it, I get it, I lose it. But I am committed to spending a lot more time with it every day. And what I'm doing now is I'm leaving spiritual books in every room of my home. And so what I've also noticed is that, you know, walk into a room and I'll see, well, the Science of Mind textbook sitting there, and I pick it up and dip into it. and just start to read and read a little bit. And I'm feeling this sense of wonder and awe, the magnificence of God as I do this. And I have other books throughout my house that do the same thing for me. They're my favorite spiritual books. It's one thing I can do, listening to beautiful music, the music that really stirs your soul. That gets you there. That gets us there. Being out in nature. I was reading, I don't know who it was the other day, some spiritual author said, going out and hugging a tree is not something that is ludicrous. That those trees have an amazing energy, and never mind what anybody thinks, especially right now during the pandemic. Go out and find a tree and hug it and just feel the wonder and the energy that comes from it and the healing. It's out there in nature. It's there for each one of us. And so the fact that you are here right now, the fact that you are here, you've taken classes, you've studied, you pray, you meditate. You're all mystics in training. We all are. And we all need one another to support one another in that journey that we're on. Because collectively, our energy is so much greater than it is with just one of us. And so let us remember this and collectively pray together, meditate together, pray for one another as we pray for this planet, as we pray for all humanity, as we pray for peace on earth. And the more we do it, the closer we become to being in complete alignment with God, to being mystics on this journey home to God. And so it is. Thank you for being here with us today. And this is a time in our service where we generally have our offering and some music. And so I invite you, if you would care to do so, to make a contribution to our center today. It's all that you give and all that you do that really keep us going during these times and all times, the things that grow our center. And so we're really, really blessed to have all that you do. If you'd care to make a donation, please go to our website, www.cslvictoria.org. And you can use PayPal, or alternatively, when you click on donate, you can use your credit card or a debit card. Or if you want to make it really easy, you can do an e-transfer to donate@cslvictoria.org. That's donate@cslvictoria.org. And it's all lowercase. Please remember that. Some people have had some challenges with that. And so I'd like to now invite Reverend Jennifer to do our benediction today. Jen?
Join with me as I go within. Reflect on this wisdom that has been shared by Reverend Carrie. That our heart is infinitely more powerful than our brain, our mind. And we take it wherever we go. When we're in the presence of anything that draws our attention, we lead with our heart. The wisdom of the divine which resides within our heart is blessed upon individuals, situations, conditions, which transforms. And when we go forth this next week and see situations which we'd like to change, that we can use the process of the 5-step prayer, the spiritual mind treatment. The spiritual process of bringing forth the power and wisdom of our heart through our thoughts, and into those things we desire. As we recognize the presence of the divine wherever we look, in every situation, and that power, that creative power, is within. We also know that that power is within us. We are one with that power. We are that power. And when we focus it on our desire about any situation, know that that power is creative. And we impress upon the divine consciousness within us the outcome we desire. And we get the feeling of fulfillment and know that it is done. We express gratitude. Pray believing that you have received and it shall be done. So I am grateful. I am appreciative. And I am confident in its completion. And in this moment, this benediction is done. And I release this power within my heart into the universe, transform, uplift, brighten, love everything that is in my consciousness. Thank you, God. So it is.
Thank you all for being here today. It's lovely to see you. We look forward to seeing you again next week. And meanwhile, just have a blessed week. I pray that the sun shines on everyone and that we all just feel that closeness to the divine as we go forward. Bless you all. You are amazing. You are loved and you are love itself in expression. And so it is.